Okay, good morning, guys. So let's begin with the endocrine system. The endocrine system. So something that's very interesting about the endocrine system is that in order for us to understand it properly, the course is anatomy and physiology. So we're going to be looking at the anatomy of the endocrine system. We're going to be looking at the anatomy from an anatomical standpoint. And we said that anatomy means structure. So we're going to be looking at the endocrine system from a structural standpoint, from an anatomical standpoint. Then the course is also known as physiology. So this is anatomy and physiology. So we're going to be looking at the physiology or the function. The physiology and the function. Okay, so the endocrine system. Can someone tell me what comes to your mind when you're brainstorming and you hear the endocrine system? What comes to your mind? Yes, please.
Glands and hormones.
Excellent. So this is what the endocrinologists deal with. Somebody said, I'm going to the neurologist. They talk about neurons and nerves and pain and numbness and tingling sensation and heat and all of those sensory motor problems. That's for the neurologist. For the endocrinologist, we're dealing with the hormones, we're dealing with the glands, and we're also dealing with the neurotransmitters. Don't forget that one. So, anatomically, your endocrine system is divided into number one is glands. So those are glands. Your endocrine system is made up of glands. That's number one. Number two, your endocrine system is also made up of nerves. Don't forget that. Of nerves. Your endocrine system is made up of number one, glands, and number two, nerves. The glands and nerves, and lastly, you have some organs, actual organs that are part of your endocrine system. That's number three. So anatomically, structurally, your endocrine system is made up of glands, and glands give us what? Glands always secrete hormones. Very good. So glands always secrete hormones. Glands always secrete hormones. The glands always secrete the hormones in two places. Number one and number two. Number one, hormones are secreted either in the blood. A hormone is secreted in the blood. And that's an example of an endocrine gland. If the gland secreted the hormone in the blood, that is known as an endocrine gland. Please make sure that you label that. That is known as an endocrine gland. Some hormones, and please remember, there's one thing you need to add. There are glands and nerves. So nerves secrete neurotransmitters. Nerves secrete neurotransmitters from the name. Nerves, neurotransmitters. And the neurotransmitters go where? Where do the neurotransmitters go? They go to other nerves. Or they go to muscles, The neurotransmitters go to other nerves, they go to muscles, or they go to glands. Of the nerves, muscles, or glands. Those are the target of the neurotransmitters. So if a neurotransmitter is secreted, it's either going to a muscle, it's either going to a gland, or it is either going to some other nerve. Is there any other question? So we got that. We got that. Nerves secrete neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters go to other nerves. They go to muscles and they go to glands. Everybody wrote that? Now let's go back to the hormones. Hormones that are secreted in the blood. The glands who secrete hormones in the blood are known as endocrine glands. And the glands that secrete hormones in the, what is the other place we secrete hormones? So you either secrete a hormone in the blood, or you secrete a hormone you either secrete a hormone in a gland, or you secrete a hormone in
sweat. Is it not sweat?
a hormone in the blood, or a hormone in the duct. So hormones go in the ducts, and the glands who secrete hormones in ducts are called exocrine glands. Those are known as exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. Is that clear? Exocrine glands. You also need to know something, that glands secrete hormones and ducts secrete hormones, nerves secrete neurotransmitters, glands also secrete enzymes. Don't forget that. Glands always, some of them, they secrete enzymes. An enzyme is not the same thing as a hormone. So we're going to talk about that. There's a difference between an enzyme and a hormone. So some glands secrete enzymes and hormones, and some organs secrete also enzymes. Excellent. Enzymes and hormones. Don't forget that. So now this is a holistic look at the anatomy and the structure of your endocrine system. Your endocrine system is made up of glands, and those glands secrete hormones, and they also secrete enzymes. They secrete the hormones and the enzymes in the blood, and that makes them an endocrine gland. And some of them secrete the enzymes and the hormones in a duct, and that makes it exocrine gland. And we also learned about neurotransmitters being secreted from nerves, and the nerve release neurotransmitters, and those neurotransmitters target other nerves. Remember how we talked about nerve stimulation passing from one nerve to the next nerve with the action potential, and the release of neurotransmitters from one neuron to the next neuron to the next neuron, and so on. Are we clear? Now, we also have neurotransmitters that target the glands. So some glands, they will never secrete their hormones, they will never secrete their enzymes unless they get a neurotransmitter, to tell them, hey, please secrete enzyme, secrete a hormone. Is that one clear? Now, we also have some organs. You have an entire organ secreting a hormone. So like the pancreas. You see, the pancreas is a 2-in-1. A pancreas is 2-in-1. It's an endocrine gland and it's an exocrine gland. It's an endocrine gland and it's a Exocrine gland. Who can tell me if the pancreas is an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland? What do these two things mean? Yes, please.
It secretes in the blood and in ducts.
Excellent. So the pancreas has the ability to secrete hormones and enzymes in the blood as well as in the duct. Very good. Who can give me an example of an enzyme that the pancreas is going to be secreting from the pancreas into the blood? Yes, please.
Insulin?
Insulin. That's a perfect example of a hormone that is secreted by the pancreas in the blood. To do what? Why is insulin secreted?
To lower sugar levels.
To lower blood sugar levels. In response to hyperglycemia. Excellent. What is the name of the cells that secrete insulin? You know, insulin is huge. The pancreas is huge. So there are cells in the pancreas that secrete insulin. Do all the cells of the pancreas secrete insulin?
No.
No. Some cells secrete insulin. What is the name of the cells that secrete insulin in the pancreas? The beta cells of the pancreas. Please write that down. The beta cells of the pancreas release insulin from the pancreas. Yes? Absolutely. Then, what if the opposite happens? So if we have too much sugar, we secrete insulin. If we have too little sugar, now the opposite. What do we secrete? If we have too little sugar now, what do we secrete? If we have hyperglycemia, we secrete insulin. If we have hypoglycemia, we secrete glucagon. Glucagon is the one that's gonna replenish blood sugar. So glucagon is gonna go to the sugar warehouse where we're storing up the sugar. What is the sugar warehouse in your body? Where is sugar being stored in your body?
It's not being stored.
In the muscle. Excellent. That's one place we go to. Remember I told you, if you work out and if you have high blood sugar, you go to the doctor and they do blood work. Say, oh, your A1C is high, you are pre-diabetic, or you have 6.5 A1C, you're diabetic, and you go to the gym, you work out, you get big muscles. When you go back and you do your blood work again, what happens to the sugar level? It lowered because the sugar went from the blood into the muscle. And then you have these big muscles, and there's a starvation, no food around. The muscles are gonna get so smaller, and your blood sugar is gonna go higher. So that shows you that the muscle is like a bank. We store sugar in the muscle and we withdraw sugar from the muscle. Remember how in the past we talked about the skeletal system? It's a bank for minerals like phosphate and calcium. You want to store calcium, you add it to the bone. You want to withdraw calcium, you remove from the bone. Remember that? So same thing, exactly. The muscle is also responsible for replenishing sugar and storing sugar. Is the muscle the only one that is a sugar bank? Obviously, the minerals, the only bank is the bone. That's no other banks for calcium and phosphate in the body except the skeleton, your bone. But the sugar, is it only your muscle that is responsible for storing sugar and break down sugar? No. So who else?
I was going to say pancreas also.
The liver. The pancreas is too small to store sugar.
Okay.
So the liver is going to be responsible for release sugar. So whenever there is insulin, we take sugar from the blood, we put it in the cells, we put it in the muscle, we put it in the liver. Whenever there is glucagon, we release sugar from the liver, we release sugar from the muscle, we release sugar from the cells. Is that point clear?
Yes.
The name of the cells that make insulin are called what?
Beta cells.
Beta cells of the pancreas. And the name of the cells that make glucagon are called what?
Are they alpha cells?
Alpha cells.
Really?
Excellent, yes.
That's
So
hilarious.
alpha cells of the pancreas secrete glucagon, and beta cells of the pancreas secrete insulin. Very good. So now, the endocrinologist deals with all of that, guys. The endocrinologist deals with glands, deals with hormones, deals with enzymes, deals with blood system, deals with the ducts, deal with the nerves, muscles, neurotransmitters, and organs that release the hormones. So now we looked at the system. The system. So now if you look at the college has a system. There's human resources, there is laboratories, there is classrooms, there is department offices, there is a cafeteria, there is a public safety. So that's the structure of the school. Did we talk about the function of the school? We just have buildings. So here we talked about the glands, the neurotransmitters, the hormones. We talked about what is there in the endocrine system. Did we talk about the function of the endocrine system? What are these glands trying to do? What are these hormones trying to do?
No.
What are these neurotransmitters trying to do? So now that's the other part. Remember, the course is 2-in-1, anatomy and physiology. So now let's look at the physiology and the function. What is the function of all these glands and enzymes and the nerves and the endocrine and exocrine glands and the neurotransmitters? They actually have 3 functions. Your endocrine system has 3 functions. Your endocrine system has 3 functions. Function number 1, function number 2, and function number 3. What is the function? What is the first function of your endocrine system? The first function of the endocrine system is the homeostasis. That's the first function. What does homeostasis mean? Some students have a difficulty understanding what homeostasis means. Yes, please.
At rest.
At rest. Raise your hand if you have another definition. Yes. Equilibrium. Any other answers? So students do this all the time. When I ask what is homeostasis, some students say equilibrium, some students say balance, some students say equilibrium, balance, some say steady state. All of that is wrong. Homeostasis does not mean equilibrium. Homeostasis does not mean balance. Homeostasis does not mean at rest. Homeostasis means no matter what's happening on the outside, you maintain a constant, stable, internal environment. For example, please pay close attention. Let's say you have a thermometer. You take the thermometer, you put it under your tongue, and you are in your room, in the living room. You measure your temperature. What's your temperature going to be? 37 degrees Celsius. Then you go out in the cold, in the blizzard. You start shivering. You take the thermometer, put it under your tongue again. Is your temperature going to be the same, 37 degrees Celsius? Is it going to be the same? Now you're outside in the blizzard shivering. Is it going to be the same? Raise your hand. Is it going to be the same? If you think it's going to be the same, raise your hand. If you think it's going to be cold like the blizzard outside, raise your hand. It's not going to be cold like the blizzard because you shiver. So the shivering warm you up.
Like I'm shivering right now.
That's the example of homeostasis. Even though it was cold outside, your temperature with the thermometer was not like the temperature of the of the environment, external environment, because we have two environments. We have an internal environment and we have an external environment. So here the external environment is cold, but you're not. You're warm. What about the opposite? It's really hot summer day, you're in a sauna, and the sauna is so hot, and you're sweating, drenched in sweat. You take the thermometer, you put it under your tongue. What is your temperature going to be now?
The same.
The same, just like how it was in your living room, just like how it was in the blizzard. But this time you're not going to be shivering, you're going to be sweating. So homeostasis means that you remain constant. You remain constant. Your temperature, your homeostasis variables remain constant no matter what's happening on the outside. It's cold, you shiver, temperature constant. You're hot, you sweat, temperature is constant. You're in your living room, everything is cool, you're not shivering, you're not sweating, everything is constant. That is homeostasis. Yes?
So the correct definition would be a consistent internal state?
Yeah, a constant internal state, resisting no matter what happens on the outside. Now, if there was a dead body, if you had a corpse, you measure your temperature, 37 degrees Celsius in the living room, you put a thermometer in the tongue of the dead body, is it going to be 37 degrees Celsius?
No.
It's going to be just like the room temperature. You're going to be 37, the room is going to be 35, he's going to be 35 too. You go in a blizzard, put a thermometer under your tongue, you're 37 degrees Celsius, the dead body is 0 degrees Celsius because he can't shiver. You take the dead body with you to a sauna, it is so hot, you measure your temperature, you're 37 degrees Celsius, then you measure the temperature of the...
Excuse me.
Hello.
I'm teaching in 401. Are you doing the muscles today?
No, not the one.
Okay, so I need to borrow one.
Please go ahead.
Thanks.
You're welcome, no problem. So if there was a dead body, the dead body will not be able to achieve homeostasis. Like if you are in a freezing cold, you will shiver and your temperature will be stable, but the dead body will be freezing just like the snow outside. That's why homeostasis is one of the signs of life. What is the sign of life? I know life for us. I'm a Muslim. I go to the mosque. Life for us is the soul. Someone Christian goes to the church. Life is the soul, the Holy Spirit. But that is not science. Science is not the Holy Spirit, is not the soul. Science, they can't define life, but they define the signs of life. Homeostasis, responsiveness, and reproduction, movement. We can't define life, but we can define the signs of the life. One of the signs of the life is to maintain homeostasis. To maintain homeostasis. Any questions? Okay. Now, if you look into the homeostasis, meaning no matter what's outside, you fix it. Hypercalcemia, you bring it down to eukalcemia. Hypocalcemia, you bring it to eukalcemia. Hypermagnesemia, you make it eumagnesemia. Hypomagnesemia, you make it eumagnesemia. Alkalosis, acidosis, you don't want any of that. You want neutral pH. That's homeostasis. The dead body does not have a neutral pH because it doesn't carry homeostasis. So you need to have a good understanding of what homeostasis is. It does not mean equilibrium, does not mean balance. You can say when all your internal environment is in equilibrium. That's fine. I accept that. All the internal environment is a constant equilibrium. All the internal environment is a constant steady state. But you have to say the word internal environment. Homeostasis is about the inside, not about the outside. You can't control the weather. You can't control external environment. You can only control your internal environment. Any questions?
No.
Now we're looking at the homeostasis. You need to know the word. Homeostasis stands for literally homeo and stasis. Those are two words, two split in half. Homeo and stasis.
Endostasis is state.
Stasis means
State.
constant.
Oh, constant.
Constant. Stasis means constant. Stable. Stable. That's true too. Steady. Constant, stable, and steady. Homeo means what?
Internal.
Human.
Internal.
Cold.
So we have homeo means what? Human? Oh, Barrington. Homeo means human. Oh, maybe you're talking about the Homo sapien.
Ah.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Homo sapien?
Yeah.
Oh, we sorry, Barrington. But you're still wrong. Homeo means the same. The same. That's why we had homogeneous, that's the very old caveman. Homo erectus, that's the one that advanced, like the iPhone 1, iPhone. We are iPhone 3 actually, because they were Homo genus, Homo erectus, and we are Homo sapiens. Homo means the same. Barrington. Homo means the
Same.
Yeah.
same.
Same constant.
Homeo means the same, and constant means stable and steady. So we want a constant internal environment. My blood pressure, not hypertension, not hypotension, constant eutension. My magnesium level, not hypomagnesemia, not hypermagnesemia, eumagnesemia. My calcium level, not hypercalcemia, not hypocalcemia, eucalcemia. My blood sugar, not hyperglycemia, not hypoglycemia, euglycemia. Do you get it? You. That is homeostasis. Yes.
When you say U, is it EU gloss?
Yeah.
Okay.
EU.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to-
You always means homeostasis. Now, to maintain homeostasis, you need hormones. You need hormones. You will never have you without hormones. That's what the endocrine system is all about. So, the endocrine system, number one, is all about homeostasis of the organism, which I call survival. Your survival. Because if you cannot regulate temperature, you cannot maintain euthermia. You have hypothermia, you're cold. Hyperthermia, you're hot. That's all what? That's all an example of? That's an example of survival, homeostasis. So the endocrine system is about the homeostasis of the person, you and I. If somebody died, it means that they couldn't no more
U homeostasis.
maintain homeostasis. The body is too old, the organs are too old, the glands are too old, the nerves are too old, the ducts are too old. We cannot maintain homeostasis, we die. So, are the hormones in our body only about maintaining your homeostasis, your calcium level, your temperature, your blood pH, and your calcium and magnesium levels, and just your survival?
No.
So they have another homeostasis, which is the homeostasis of, think about the hormones you have.
Reproduction.
Like insulin, excellent. Insulin is for sugar. Glucagon is also to regulate sugar. And there's many hormones. Calcitonin for calcium. Parathyroid hormone for calcium. Is that clear? Questions? Are there any questions? Now, if you think about this very important concept, your friend brilliantly told us reproduction. So your endocrinologist deals with your thyroid gland. You have a thyroid problem. And he also deals a lot with the ovaries and the testes, because those are glands too. They secrete testosterone, they secrete estrogen. So all of those glands are important for the survival of the population. We don't want to be like the dinosaur. How many dinosaurs exist now around the world?
No.
Zero. Not a single one. Not a single one. The koalas, you know the koalas? Those marsupials in Australia, they are called endangered species. Endangered species means they are so close to extinction. But they're not all dead. Extinction means the death of every one last of the species. Not a single one left.
Bees are going extinct, and that's
Those-
very dangerous.
Those are the dinosaurs, they're extinct. So us human beings, we don't want them extinct. That's why we have a endocrine system to help us reproduce and have offspring. Is that clear? To reproduce and have children and have offspring. Any questions? Now, if you think about the homeostasis of the population, we don't want extinction. To prevent extinction and to keep propagating life and procreation. So that's another function. That's number two. So number one, homeostasis of the organism. Number two, homeostasis of the population. And that's called reproduction. Reproduction. That's called reproduction. Any questions? Yes.
So it's survival, population, and reproduction? Or no?
The survival, meaning we survive as a person, as an organism, that's one function. Then the survival of the population, which means reproduction. They're all the same thing. So that's number two. Okay? And what do you think is the last function? So your hormones are only about your reproduction and your survival. Is there nothing else? What do you think is the third function of your what is the third function of your homeostasis? What's the third function of your endocrine system besides the survival of the organism and survival of the population? Yes, please.
To facilitate communication between the body?
Yes, so it does that. It communicates for survival of the person and it communicates for survival of the population. We're not going into the detail. We're talking about generally. Your endocrine system is only there to communicate so you can survive. Like temperature is hot, secret sweat, that's communication. The receptor communicated to the brain released the efferent output to the sweat gland, and the sweat gland, that's the communication. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about what is the communication even trying to do. So the communication is trying to save you homeostasis. The communication is trying to save the population with testosterone and sperm and with estrogen and the ova, the eggs. I'm sorry?
Protection?
Protection, that is also survival of the person, your survival. It's growth and development. Now, you see somebody who's suffering from dwarfism, or the opposite, someone who is suffering from gigantism, or someone who's suffering from acromegaly. Well, those people, can they not reproduce?
They can.
They can reproduce, so they have homeostasis of the population. Do these people with gigantism, acromegaly, and dwarfism, are they unable to maintain a homeostasis, euthermia, euglycemia, eutension? They can, but they have another problem they can do. What is it? Growth and development. So your hormones are important for the growth and development.
Like puberty.
And not exactly, not just puberty, even past puberty. So you go from an infant into a toddler, into a child, into a teenager, into a adolescent, then a teenager, then early adulthood, and so on. This growth is regulated by the hormones. So the third job of the hormones is growth, and development. Growth, that's the third job. Now, when I say growth and development, guys, do I just mean growth and development of the body? My biceps are big, my triceps are, my forearm is big, my brain is the size of an adult, my legs are big. Am I just talking about the growth of the body?
No.
Only? That one is important too. The growth of the body has to be achieved. There's a milestone. You have to reach the physical, structural, anatomical milestones to grow. But in addition to the structural growth, what else am I talking about? So are you only concerned with growing physically, going to the gym, having big muscles? That's it?
Mental.
Mental.
I was gonna say that, but it felt so wrong.
And no, it's very important. You can see somebody very big, very handsome, very structured, and then they start talking or they do things, you know that their mental age and their chronological age are not the same. So they have a intellectual retardation, mental retardation, because of the hormones. Because the hormones are important for growth and development of the body, growth and development of the mental and cognitive. Barrington, mental and cognitive is good. Mental and cognitive, yes, Sheree.
So the other side of that would be someone that might be small in stature, let's say, but then they're like a genius or someone with a really high IQ, but they're like 12 years old. Would that be the other side of it?
No, being genius is
That's not a hormone.
being a genius is something that is it is unknown. It just happens like that. And you can work on being a genius. It's not like you have to be born a genius. You have to work, and learn. Then you become a genius. Some people are born with it's like a gift, a blessing God gave them. Like people who calculate math, you tell them, before the calculator, you're putting in a calculator, what is 478 times 979. Before you press equal, they will tell you what the number is. You can actually practice that, and you can get good at it. But in the end of the day, this is your intellectual. Your hormones are responsible for your intellect. You don't just want to grow the body. That's why you're here in school. Why are you here in school? Why aren't you just out there in the gym? You need both. You go to the gym for the body, and you come to the college for the mind, for the brain. Then, you know the thyroid hormone?
Yes.
That one is important for your intellectual and cognitive development. Any baby who's born, you are running off the thyroid hormone of who?
Your mom.
Mommy. So when you are just born, the thyroid hormone in your body is the thyroid hormone of mom. If you are born with a thyroid problem as a baby, and you cannot make thyroid hormone, quickly they have to give you an injection of exogenous synthetic thyroid hormone. Did you get that point?
Yes.
If you are born and you have some thyroid problem and you're running off mommy's thyroid hormone, and this thyroid hormone that mommy gave you ran out, and your thyroid gland is not working. Everybody is born with a thyroid gland who's working. But I'm saying for a baby whose thyroid gland is not working and the thyroid hormone that mommy gave them ran out, what do you think is going to happen to that child? They will have mental disability, intellectual and mental disability. Yes?
Is that why when usually adults with thyroid problems, they end up having Graves' disease, and it's pretty much like squeezing their brain and squeezing their eyes, and that's why one of the symptoms is their eyes bulging out?
No.
Would that be?
No. That's a whole different system. The Graves' disease, there's an overstimulation of the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland becomes hypertrophied, and it secretes a lot of thyroid hormone, and the thyroid hormone is increasing the basal metabolic rate. So their basal metabolic rate is increasing, and their heartbeat is increasing. They have palpitations, blood pressure increasing. They lose the weight and the muscles. There is a exuberant release of proteins around the preorbital. They have preorbital edema. Then they have the exophthalmos. Has nothing to do with the brain.
Oh, okay.
The brain is when you're a baby, when you're just born. You gotta ensure that the baby has enough thyroid hormone because it's important for the mental development. Otherwise, the baby will grow up to become mentally retarded. They will become intellectually retarded or mental disability. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes, Barrington.
Question. If if someone have a thyroid problem where their metabolism like that they got slow metabolism, right? So that will also let them have slow mental.
No. The mental part of the thyroid hormone is only when you're a baby. That's it. After you grow up, now if there is something wrong with the thyroid hormone, it'll be something like related to other thyroid functions like your temperature, like your heart rate, like your blood pressure, like your body weight, like your sweating, stuff like that. Not your mental. Your thyroid hormone will only affect your mental development and cognitive development when you're a baby. But once you develop mentally, that's it. It doesn't mean it's not important anymore. It's important for other functions. It's just the intellectual one, it has to be there for you as a baby. Is that one clear? So now we learned that the endocrine system is responsible for the endocrine system is responsible for three functions. Number one,
Homeostasis.
of what?
The body.
Of the body, of the person, organism, survival, you survive, you don't die from cold, you survive cold, you survive heat, you sweat, you survive high blood glucose, you don't want to get coma, low blood glucose, you get coma, you survive loss of water in the blood, hypovolemia, you get euvolemia. So survival of the organism, that's the first function. What's the second function? Reproduction, the survival of the entire. So reproductive homeostasis, correct. It means it is the survival of the entire population. Very good. And lastly, the growth and development. Which two growth and development? What are the two growth and development? Physical growth and development and mental growth and development. Which hormone, if you don't have enough of as a baby, if you are born with a defect in that gland, they gotta give you quick injection with the hormone, otherwise you will have intellectual disability. What's the name of that hormone? I'm sorry? Can you say it again? I didn't hear you. The thyroid hormone. Very good. You got it. Thyroid hormone. Very good. So this is the structure and the function of this is now the structure and the function of the endocrine system. Now we will move into the glands that operate. Also, do not forget, you need to know the glucose homeostasis. So, you know, always there's a template. There is always a template for how homeostasis is achieved. Homeostasis is also known as what type of feedback? Negative or positive feedback?
Negative.
That's negative feedback. Please remember that. Homeostasis is always negative feedback. Positive feedback means what? It means danger, it means death. If your blood sugar is too high, they give you a injection, IV, they give you intravenous injection with a dextrose or with a glucose solution. What happens to you? You will die from coma because you had blood sugar already, and now your blood sugar is way increasing too much. So we need to decrease it. That's why it's called negative feedback. Students always think negative feedback. Students think that negative feedback means minus when things go low. No. Because when you have hypoglycemia and you restore it back to euglycemia, you went up. You went from minus hypoglycemia into euglycemia. That's an example of positive or negative feedback.
Negative.
That's an example of negative feedback. Now, so let's look at the template. The template always begins with a receptor. You always have a receptor, a sensor, a detector. Please don't forget that. A receptor, a sensor, a detector. A receptor, a sensor, a detector. And we said we have different types of receptors. Who can remember for me the different types of receptors we went over? Who can remember the different types of receptors? What are the different types of receptors that we went over? I'm sorry? Efferent receptors? What receptor did we go over?
We did afferent, but
Receptors. Receptors.
dendrite.
Osteoclast. No?
What are the receptors that we went over in class? Receptors who send out the afferent input, sensory input. Remember we said the arrow goes out like that. The arrow goes out like this, and it carries on it an input that is sensory and afferent. So what is the receptor that will send out the input that is afferent and sensory into a control processing?
The pancreas would be the receptor, no?
The pancreas is not the receptor. Control, processing, and integration. So in some cases, you're right. In some cases, the control, processing, integration center is actually the central nervous system. But in the case of glucose, who finds out that glucose is too high in the blood? Is it the brain or the pancreas?
Pancreas.
So the processing, integration, and control center is your pancreas. But what are the receptors? There are receptors on the muscle, but the muscles themselves are not receptors. Neurotransmitters are chemical substance. They are not receptors. The receptor is a sensor. The neurotransmitter doesn't sense. The neurotransmitter gets released.
The receptor protein.
What's the name of our receptors that we went over? So you're right, it's afferent because it leaves the receptor. That's the stimulation. But what's the name of the receptor that sends out the input sensory afferent stimulation? Shireen, what's the name of the receptor that sends out the input afferent stimulation? Give me one type. You cannot think of one receptor.
I got one last answer that I believe that it is.
Mhm.
If it's not hormones, then I'm screaming.
So hormones are not receptors because hormones are chemicals. A receptor have to be able to sense. That's why we call them sensors. So the receptors are the chemoreceptors and the osmoreceptors and the mechanoreceptors.
Would it be a chemoreceptor?
So there are different types of receptors. Yes, for sugar, absolutely it's a chemoreceptor because it detects the chemical structure. Chemoreceptors detect the chemical structure. Like they taste, they are blood taster. They taste the blood. Is it has sugar too high, hyperglycemia, sugar too low, too salty, little salt? So there's different types of receptors. Remember, I always told you, if you grab water, if you grab a bunch of ice cubes, make a fist with ice cubes. In the beginning, the ice cubes are gonna feel cold. But after a while, the ice cubes are going to be pain, burn, pain, hot, painful. So why is that?
Because the thermoreceptors are picking up that it's cold.
In the beginning, excellent, and then,
To the nociceptors.
and then,
Nociceptors.
excellent, nauseous, very good. That's why in the beginning, there is cold sensation, that is hypothermia, thermoreceptors, then is pain now, nociception. That's why you feel pain. So the different types of receptors, please write them down. You have the chemoreceptor, and then you have the thermoreceptor, then you have the nociceptor,
Then you have the one that touches. What about
chemoreceptor, thermoreceptor, nociceptor, then you have mechanoreceptor, then you have osmoreceptor.
Do those check white and red blood cells?
No, they check if the blood is salty or if the blood is light. So if you have a jug of Kool-Aid, a 1 liter jug of Kool-Aid is red. You add another liter of water to it. Is it going to be red now?
No.
It's going to be lighter in color. So the osmolarity went up or down?
down?
Osmolarity is the solute concentration, the ratio of solute to solvent. Osmolarity is the ratio of solute, the number of solutes divided by the number of solvent. So the solvent was first 1 liter, and you had 1 pack of Kool-Aid. 1 liter, and that is going to give you the osmolarity. So the osmolarity means the number of solutes divided by the number of
Solvent.
Now you double the number of solvent. Now you have 2 liters, 3 liters, 4 liters. If you increase the denominator, you increase the solvent amount. Is the osmolarity going to go up or down?
Down?
Think about it this way. You have 1 pack divided by 1 liter, 1 pack divided by 2 liter, 1 pack divided by 3 liter, 1 pack divided by 4 liter. If you increase the liters, what happens to the osmolarity? It goes down. Very good. So your blood is rich in protein, rich in electrolyte, rich in solutes. When you're dehydrated, you lose water. Is your blood now going to be light or is it going to be really, really salty? Really salty. So now the osmolarity went up or down?
Up.
Excellent. That's hyperosmolar. That's hyperosmolar. If the osmolarity drops and drops and drops, what happens to your blood?
Lighter.
It gets lighter. That's hypoosmolarity, and both are bad. We don't want hyperosmolar. We don't want hypoosmolar. We want euosmolar. So now this is the osmolarity, and we measure that with the osmoreceptors. Now after the osmoreceptors,
Then we don't need that.
we have the photoreceptors. The photoreceptors, they sense and they detect light. They sense and they detect light. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now input sensory afferent stimulation goes to the control center. So in the case of glucose, it's the chemoreceptor, detects the chemical glucose, sends an input sensory afferent stimulation to the control processing center. In this case, it's who? Please don't say the brain.
Pancreas.
It's the pancreas. And then the pancreas, alpha or beta cells,
Beta.
the beta cells are going to be secreting insulin in a motor output motor output, and efferent. Motor output efferent, and that's going to secrete insulin
To the muscles.
and this is going to secrete insulin in the blood. And then insulin is going to go to the blood, and then it's going to make the sugar go from the blood. So you have in the blood so much glucose. Glucose, G, 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 all of this glucose. And on the other side, you have the cell. The cell has little to no glucose. And the blood is full of glucose. Now, insulin is going to make the glucose go where?
To the cell.
To the inside of the cell. Is that clear? Is that clear? All right. Now let's look at the opposite. Let's look now. I don't have too much sugar. I have too little sugar now. So who's going to detect that? And they will send input sensory afferent stimulation to the,
Pancreas.
and the pancreas will secrete
No. Alpha cells.
glucagon. The alpha cells will secrete glucagon. And this here makes no sense because the blood had no glucose. But if you look at the liver and muscle cells, these are the warehouses, so they are rich in, they have a lot of glucose, not glucagon. Glucagon is the hormone. They have glycogen. There is glycogen. Glycogen. There is glycogen in the liver cell. So now the sugar goes into the sugar is now going to be going in the opposite direction. Because the problem was we have no glucose in the blood. So now the glucose gets into the
Blood.
goes in the blood, and then the blood glucose level goes up, and we go from hypoglycemia into euglycemia. Very good. Not euco. Euglycemia. Very good. So now this is what your endocrine system is all about. Now you will see there's different types of glands in your endocrine system. Your endocrine system has different types of glands. If you look at your body, you see that at the top you have your hypothalamus, then you have the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland has two lobes, an anterior lobe, please write this down, an anterior pituitary, this is due after lecture, pituitary, an anterior pituitary, and a posterior pituitary. A posterior pituitary. Meaning one in the front and one in the
Back.
The anterior pituitary has another name. It's called the adenohypophysis. The adenohypophysis. And the posterior pituitary means the neurohypophysis. Do you get it? Anterior pituitary means the adenohypophysis. And the posterior pituitary means the neurohypophysis. Is that clear? Yeah. Is that clear? Anterior pituitary means adenohypophysis. Posterior pituitary means neurohypophysis. So the hypothalamus is the top gland, And the pituitary gland is also known as the master gland. As the master gland. As the master gland. The pituitary gland is known as the master gland, and it has an anterior pituitary and a posterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary secretes only two hormones. The first one is always digging holes, ADH. But please don't say always digging holes. ADH stands for what? Anti-diuretic
Hypertension.
hormone. You see the three letters? A, D, H. ADH is antidiuretic hormone. The other hormone is oxytocin. ADH has a nickname. The nickname is vasopressin. Vasopressin. ADH is vasopressin. So, what does antidiuretic hormone mean? What does antidiuretic hormone mean? From the name, please don't say anti-diarrhea. Antidiuretic hormone. So, anti means
Stop.
it will stop, it will prevent, it will not allow
It will not allow.
diuresis. What does diuresis mean? Diuresis. What does diuresis mean? Hmm?
I know it has to do with diet, but I don't know how to word it.
Not diet.
It's not diet?
Nope.
Is that not a diuretic? Because is it not like a laxative?
So diuresis means urination.
Oh.
Urination.
Anti-urination hormone?
Exactly. But we don't say anti-urination. We say anti-diuretic hormone. So now this hormone is only secreted in order to
Make you not use the bathroom?
to prevent you from urinating. Now, who can give me a scenario of a good time that this hormone should be released? Yes.
Right now, because I gotta pee, I'm trying to write notes.
What's an example of a situation where your body would see your pituitary, your posterior pituitary would secrete antidiuretic hormone? Fight or flight. So fight or flight means you're running for your life.
Yeah,
So
but if your body is in the fight or flight, you're not gonna say, "Oh, I need to go and pee right now." You're gonna hold it until you're out of that situation.
So when it comes to antidiuretic hormone, it prevents your diuresis because it wants to conserve the water. You don't want to lose the water. Like when you're dehydrated, when you're so, like when you're running the marathon. You're running the marathon, you sweat so much, you're so thirsty. Your posterior pituitary will now secrete antidiuretic hormone because you can't afford to lose any drop of water. All the water is gone from the blood into the sweat. All the water has gone from the blood into the sweat. So now you will faint. You will fall because you have lost so much water. So now you need that hormone to come in to save you. So it will prevent the loss of water in the urine. Another example would be if you're bleeding. Let's say you got a stab wound, you got a gunshot wound, you're losing blood. You think you're going to urinate? You already lost a lot of water in the blood that you lost when you got injured. Do you think you're going to be losing water in urine now? So then antidiuretic hormone is going to be secreted. Antidiuretic hormone is going to be secreted in order to preserve the water in the blood volume. You can't afford to drop your blood volume. Is that clear? Yeah. Now, this is the antidiuretic hormone. Also, what's the other name for antidiuretic hormone? Vasopressin. Oxytocin, if you look at oxytocin is the squeezer. It squeezes two things. Oxytocin is a squeezer of two very important things. It squeezes the uterus. To do what? Why is oxytocin squeezing the uterus? Why is oxytocin squeezing the uterus? Yes. For the baby to be born. If the baby is there trying to be in labor, baby is trying to come out, pushing with his head, trying to come out, the uterus is gonna push because the mechanoreceptors in the cervix are gonna send an afferent sensory input stimulation to your hypothalamus. The hypothalamus will send out an output motor efferent stimulation to the uterus smooth muscle to contract and expel the baby out. So it's a squeezer. The oxytocin is a squeezer of the uterus smooth muscles. It is also a squeezer of what? The milk duct. In order for the milk to come out. So when the baby is suckling the nipple, irritating the nerve endings in breast milk and suckling the milk, the more the baby suckles the milk, afferent sensory input stimulation goes to the brain, and the brain releases efferent output stimulation, and the milk come out. The more the baby suckling the milk, the more milk comes out. Is that an example of a negative or a positive feedback? That's a perfect example of a positive feedback. The more the baby push on the uterus, the more the uterus expel and pushes out the baby. The more the baby suckles the nipples, the more the milk duct squeezing the milk duct and the milk comes out. That's a positive feedback. So the posterior pituitary has two different hormones. What are they? 1 and 2. ADH and what are the two hormones that are secreted from the posterior pituitary? Oxytocin and
ADH.
ADH has another name. What is it?
Vasopressin.
Vasopressin. Who can tell me the function of vasopressin ADH?
To keep the urine in.
To keep the urine in, or to keep the water from being lost in the urine. To conserve water. Give me two situations of somebody's blood will have a lot of ADH.
Marathon runner.
Marathon runner, because he already sweat a lot. So he can't afford to lose any more water because he lost so much water in the sweat. Very good. Who else? Besides the marathon runner, who else would have a lot of ADH in their body? Someone who is wounded and lost blood. Very good. Very good. Somebody who is wounded and lost blood. The marathon runner lost water in the sweat. The one who was wounded lost water in the blood. So we can't afford to lose water. So we will send out from the posterior pituitary ADH to save us. Who can give me a situation of oxytocin in action?
Someone over there said something.
I said breastfeeding.
Breastfeeding. So the more excellent, the more the baby suckles the milk, the more milk comes out. What is another situation besides breastfeeding? Excellent.
Birth.
Besides milk ejection, what is the other reason?
Birth.
Birth, giving birth, labor. Very good. So those are the two hormones. No other hormones comes out the posterior pituitary. So now we're done with the posterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary. Yes.
I wanted to ask, does oxytocin also come out when like I'm around the nursery cycle or no?
Yes, it does. In order to squeeze the uterus from losing so much blood. And it squeezes the uterus in order to shed all the dead tissue that is going to fall off in the menstrual cycle. Also in the birth, after the baby comes out, when it's all over, the mom is bleeding endlessly. So they give her a shot with oxytocin to squeeze the uterus to prevent hemorrhage and blood loss.
Person to my question. Cause does it like say you're breastfeeding, does that cause more oxytocin to be produced?
Yeah, the more the baby suckles the nipple, afferent stimulation, afferent sensory impulse stimulation go to the brain sends out efferent motor output, oxytocin is gonna squeeze the milk duct. So the more the baby suckles, the more milk is squeezed and coming out.
And then that's gonna cause you to contract more too, right?
If she was giving birth, but in that situation, it depends on where the stimuli is coming from.
No, when you're breastfeeding, it does contract the uterus.
Yeah, because my mom was breastfeeding and they had to take her off like the official machine pump because it was making her uterus contract too much.
Yeah, because it's the same hormone. That's interesting. I never knew that. But that's interesting.
That's why they say breastfeeding is good not only just for the baby, but if you want to bounce back quicker because it naturally contracts your uterus as you're breastfeeding, and it's painful, but it keeps you skinny.
That's very good. It keeps you to conserve blood loss. Very good. Okay, so we're done with two. We are done with two hormones, ADH and oxytocin. Now let's look at the anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary has growth hormone, GH. Growth hormone, GH. Everybody seen growth hormone, GH? Also, there is ACTH. ACTH, that's the first hormone, growth hormone. The second hormone, ACTH. The third hormone is FSH and LH. They come out together. We look at them as one, even though they are two different hormones, and we'll talk more about that. So GH, ACTH, FSH, and we also have prolactin. Number 4 is prolactin. And number five, so we have prolactin. Number 4, number 5, we have the thyrotropin, thyroid stimulating hormone, TSI, thyroid stimulating hormone. So we have GH, ACTH, FSH, LH, prolactin, and the TSI. It is not the thyroid hormone. It is the thyroid stimulating hormone. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. There's a thyroid hormone and a thyroid stimulating hormone. GH, ACTH, FSH, LH, and prolactin, and thyroid stimulating hormone. So who secretes more hormones? The anterior pituitary or the posterior pituitary? So you see the anterior pituitary secrete a lot more hormones. Now, there is something you need to know. Those two hormones in the back, in the posterior pituitary, also known as, what's the other name for posterior pituitary? Neurohypophysis. What's the other name for anterior pituitary? Is the adenohypophysis. If you look at the posterior pituitary, is a storage, is a nerve tissue. If you look in the microscope, it looks like a nerve tissue. Nerve tissue that is rich in oxytocin and ADH. Whenever you need it, it will come out. But if you look at the anterior pituitary, no. You know, there's two different types of food. Some food in a restaurant, they make it for you, and some food is already ready, they just microwave it for you. So the posterior pituitary neurohypophysis is where the microwavable stuff that is already made. You just need to open it, microwave it. That's the ADH and antidiuretic hormone. Those guys, GH, ACTH, FSH, LH, prolactin, and TSI, those ones, you do not microwave them. You do not store them. They are made on demand. They are made on demand. Is that clear? Yeah. Are we all clear? Yeah. So now let us look into the anterior pituitary hormones. We finished with the posterior pituitary hormones. So now we will talk about the anterior pituitary hormone. So, GH, let's begin with number 1. What does GH stand for? Growth hormone. Growth hormone. GH stands for growth hormone. That is GH. And GH, once it is secreted, where does it go? It goes to the muscle and bones and causes growth and development of muscle and bone. Growth and development of muscle and bone. So growth hormone goes to the muscles and bones directly, but growth hormone can also go, what's the name of this structure here? The brain. No. No, it's not the brain. How about now? Does it look different now?
Pancreas?
Kidney.
Kidney.
Kidney. The kidney looks like that.
Like a bean.
Liver.
Okay, you got it.
It's a liver?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why do you say no? Okay, how about that? Does that look like the liver? The liver looks like this.
A liver looks like a steak, low key. Yeah. And then that looks like a kidney bean, because that's why it's called kidney. The liver, it looks like a triangle, kind of. Or low key, like a right angle. Like a right angle triangle. It's like, can I draw it? I can draw it.
Oh my, at least you guys know what it is. Keep going.
It looks like.
Keep going, bro. We got it. It's okay. Is this the liver?
Boomerang.
Okay, liver. Okay. So the liver. Something you need to know. The liver secretes something called IGF. Please remember that. The liver secretes something known as IGF. Once growth hormone binds the liver, the liver is going to secrete IGF. IGF stands for insulin. Don't nobody go say that the liver secretes insulin. It's called insulin growth factor. IGF. Insulin growth factor. Man, I was close to drawing a nice liver. I think I'm almost there.
Yeah, it's there.
Almost there. Okay.
It still looks like a kidney.
It's still like a kidney. Oh my God.
Oh my
Let me
God.
just-
Let me just draw it and we can be done with it already.
That's it. That's a liver right there. I'm sorry. I don't care what you say. So, Now the IGF in turn does what? Does this. What does IGF do? The growth and the development of muscle and bone. So that's another route. So the first route is IGF, number one, goes directly to the muscle and bone, makes you grow. The second alternative route is when IGF goes to the liver, and the liver in turn secretes what? IGF stands for?
Insulin growth factor.
And insulin growth factor makes you grow. There is something very special they discovered. Some people are suffering from dwarfism. They looked at their blood work and the GH growth hormone level was fine. So why are they not growing? Yes.
Since I don't grow because I carry a lot of heavy stuff.
No, it's not about that. It's in your genetics. Your genetics are the ones that dictate. Your genetics are the ones that dictate your height. It's not because actually if you do like pull-ups and that kind of thing, it'll make you like taller a little bit, but it's not that thing. But it's not because you carry a lot of stuff. If you look at this diagram we just did here now, growth factor goes to the muscle and bones and gives you growth and development. The other route is what? What is the other route for growth hormone? What is the alternative route? Route number 2. You don't see IGF? So the growth hormone in the first route goes to the muscle and bone, makes you grow, or it goes to the, and the liver secretes what? You see the arrow here? The liver is in turn going to secrete what? IGF, insulin growth factor. Then insulin growth factor makes you. So the other possibility is they found out that those people who suffer from dwarfism, they do have growth hormone, but their liver cannot make insulin growth factor. So that's so now it's not. You used to think that you got growth factor, you got growth hormone, you will grow. You have no growth hormone, you will suffer from dwarfism. They found some people with growth hormone, but they cannot grow because the liver cannot make insulin like growth factor.
What about people that have gigantism?
So people who have gigantism, they have a tumor in the pituitary gland and they secrete too much growth hormone now. You get it? And gigantism is different from acromegaly. So now the difference is the time where it happened. If your pituitary gland got a tumor, secrete too much growth hormone when you were a baby, before the epiphyseal plate fused, that's called gigantism. But if this happened to you as an adult, you're not a baby anymore. The epiphyseal plates already fused. You are an adult. Then you have a tumor in the pituitary, anterior pituitary gland, and you have too much growth hormone. Is no longer called gigantism. What do we call it now? Acromegaly. Acromegaly. That's acromegaly. Okay, so that's as far as hormone number 1, growth hormone. Hormone number 2 is ACTH. ACTH is whenever it's secreted. So we finished with the growth hormone. Let us now look into number 2. Who's number 2? Number 2 is ACTH. So ACTH stands for adrenocorticae. The A stands for adrenal. The C stands for corticotropin. And the T here, it stands for tropin, and H stands for hormone. Does everybody see ACTH and why we call it ACTH? The A for adrenal, the C for cortico, the T for tropin, cortico, oops, is the second T. Corticotropin is the second T, and the last H is for hormone. So now ACTH goes where? Everybody look carefully, and please don't say the kidney. It goes to the, what is the name of this triangular hat that I blasted so big?
Oh, adrenal gland.
That's the adrenal gland. Now you see the name? Adrenal corticotropic hormone. Corticotropin or corticotropic C. Adrenal corticotropic hormone. Now you need to know something very special. The adrenal gland has a core. Has a core right here. The adrenal gland has a core inside. And what did we say the core? What is the name of the core? Whenever there's a core, what do we refer to that as? You know, remember we have the cerebral cortex and we had the medulla oblongata. So cortex always means roof. And medulla means core. Same thing with the adrenal gland. You have adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. In the brain, you have cerebral cortex and you have medulla oblongata. When next semester you take the AMP2, you see that the kidney has cortical nephron and medullary nephron. So don't worry about the name. Just remember, the word cortic means the top. Medulla means the core. So we have two different adrenal glands in one. We have two adrenal glands in one. Remember how we said there's two pancreas in one? One endocrine, one exocrine. The adrenal gland is two in one. One is adrenal cortex and the other is adrenal medulla. So they secrete different hormones. The adrenal medulla, that's the adrenal, please write down, that's the adrenal medulla. I'm hoping that you're writing all of this because that's due immediately after the class. Adrenal medulla is in the core and is secreting adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla is responsible for secreting excellent adrenaline, but the actual scientific name for it is epinephrine. Epinephrine. And also norepinephrine. And this is for your fight or flight. That's for your fight or flight. That's your fight or flight. Fight or flight. That's what for your survival. For your survival. Your heart rate goes up. Your blood pressure goes up. I mean, you need to survive. You need to run for your life. So that's the enzyme when they say, adrenaline rush. That's what they mean. It comes from the adrenal cortex or medulla.
Adrenal medulla rush.
Very good. So now, epinephrine, which one is more potent? Epinephrine is like 85%, and norepinephrine is 15%. Epinephrine is 85%, and norepinephrine is 15%. Very good. 15%. That is 15%. Any question? Okay. That comes from the adrenal medulla. Now, what remains? What is remaining now? On top of the adrenal medulla, surrounding the adrenal medulla is actually the adrenal cortex, but the adrenal cortex itself is divided into 3 layers. The adrenal cortex is divided into 3 layers. Do you see the 3 layers of the adrenal cortex? One here in yellow, that's the superficial top most layer. The superficial top most layer, that's called the adrenal cortex layer. That's the first top layer. Then we have in purple, then we have in the purple, that's the second layer of the adrenal cortex.
So what would the word be for middle? Cortex is top and medulla is core.
I'm sorry?
What's the word for the middle layer if cortex is top and medulla is core?
No, those are 3 layers in the cortex. The one in yellow, the one in purple, the one in yellow, the one in purple, and the one that I'm gonna put now in orange. Let's put this in orange. So now 3 layers. So those 3 are part of the adrenal cortex, and the 3 of them have 3 different names, and each one secret a different hormone. So the top layer is called, the one in yellow, is called the zona glomerulosa. Glomerulosa. And the zona glomerulosa is called that because glomerulus means balls, circular balls. So under the microscope, the zona glomerulosa looks like balls, like this. That's the zona glomerulosa. Looks circular balls. Circular balls like that. That's the zona. That's why they call it zona glomerulosa, because it looks like balls under the microscope. That's why in the kidney, anybody heard of the glomerulus or glomerular filtration rate?
Absolutely not.
So they call it glomerulus because it looks like a circular ball. So zona glomerulosa looks like balls, and the zona fasciculata looks like sticks. Sticks. The zona fasciculata looks like sticks. The zona fasciculata looks like sticks. Under the microscope, it looks like these bundles of sticks. And we call that the second layer in the middle, we call it the zona fasciculata. Fasciculata. And then in orange, we have the zona reticularis. The reticularis. We have the zona glomerulosa, the zona fasciculata, and the zona reticularis. Those are the 3 layers that make up what?
Adrenal cortex?
Excellent. The adrenal cortex is made up of 3 layers. The zona glomerulosa, and the zona fasciculata, and the zona reticularis. The zona glomerulosa secretes a hormone known as mineral corticoids. Mineral corticoids, such as aldosterone. Aldosterone. Like aldosterone. And the zona fasciculata is the zona fasciculata secretes glucocorticoids. An example of that will be cortisol. That's the glucocorticoid that comes out of who? There's three. You said adrenal gland. We have adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex has 3 layers. So where exactly is the glucocorticoid coming out of? Zona fasciculata. And the last one is the zona reticularis. The zona reticularis, and the zona reticularis is
Have a specific shape like the other two. That the first one is circular, the second one is sticks. Does the third layer have anything specific to it visually?
yeah, net. I didn't say that.
Nope.
Oh wow. It looks like a net. Fasciculata means net. Very good. Very good question, Sheree. You picked it up. It looks like a net. I even forgot it. It looks like a net. So glomerulosa means balls under the microscope. Fasciculata means sticks. And zona reticularis means it looks under the microscope like a
net.
net. And what does it release? The zona reticularis, it releases gonadocorticoids. Gonadocorticoids. For example, obviously, men have testosterone and women have estrogen because testosterone is secreted by the testes and estrogen is secreted by the ovaries. Now, let me ask you a question. If you take blood from a male, it will have only testosterone, no estrogen? So how did the man end up with estrogen, but he has no ovary?
Because we all start as the same in the beginning. And then over time, your genes decide whether you're going to be male or female. And then from there, that determines if you're going to produce more testosterone or produce more estrogen.
The men have estrogen because of the zona reticularis. So that's the layer in the adrenal cortex, the lowest one, because it produces the sex hormones that you don't have. So for the females, it produces testosterone. That's why females have a little bit of testosterone from the zona reticularis. And men have a little bit of estrogen from the zona reticularis. And we say they secrete gonadocorticoids. They secrete gonadocorticoids. And those are the gonadocorticoids. Examples for them is, what's the example of the gonadocorticoids? Those are the steroid sex hormones. Steroid sex hormones. So now you see the adrenal cortex has 3 layers and each one makes a different hormone.
Professor, say the first one?
The first one is
The secretion of the zona. What is the secretion?
of what? Of the top one, mineralocorticoids.
Of zona
Glomerulosa.
it secretes which hormone?
Aldosterone?
Aldosterone, not aldosterone.
Aldosterone.
Yeah, aldosterone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we finished with number 2. We finished with the enzyme number 2. We'll finish with hormone number 2, ACTH. Now we have FSH and LH. Well, something that we need to know that's very important about FSH and LH. What do we need to know about FSH and LH?
You tell me.
FSH and LH. FSH and LH, you know something very special about FSH and LH. So the hypothalamus secretes a hormone known as GnRH, also known as gonadotropin releasing hormone. Guys, whenever you have a hormone that ends with RH, releasing hormone, releasing hormone. Gonadotropin, releasing hormone. Corticotropin, releasing hormone. Thyrotropin, releasing hormone. Thyrotropin, releasing hormone. And growth hormone, releasing hormone. If it ends with releasing hormone, that means it's coming from the hypothalamus. Also, some of them end with IH, inhibiting hormone. So if you end with RH or you end with IH, if you end with RH and if you end with IH, that's an example of inhibitory hormone and releasing hormone that comes from the hypothalamus. Then the hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, and gonadotropin releasing hormone goes into the anterior pituitary, and there's receptors there on the anterior pituitary. There's receptors on the anterior pituitary, and the receptors of the anterior pituitary would bind GnRH. The receptors would bind GnRH. The receptors would bind GnRH. Receptors would bind GnRH. And then the anterior pituitary is going to secrete FSH. Is going to secrete two hormones. Two separate hormones, FSH and LH. Is everybody following so far? Is everybody following so far? Hypothalamus releases GnRH, and the anterior pituitary, GnRH would bind to anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary is going to secrete FSH and LH because GnRH bound. Is that clear? Okay. Now there's something very important. If you have a watermelon seed, an onion seed, a strawberry seed, a mango seed, cantaloupe seed, do you give all of them water? Or one you give water, one you give juice, one you give... How does it work? You give all water. Isn't it amazing? The same water you give to cantaloupe will give you a cantaloupe fruit. Same water you give to carrot will give you a carrot. Same water you give to onion will give you onion. Water you give it to tomato will give you tomato. So it's the same water, but will give you different fruits if you put it in a different plant. The same thing with FSH and LH.
I think we need a break.
If you put FSH in a female ovary, it will give you egg, ova. It will give you an egg or an ova. An egg or an ova. Any question? An egg or an ova. FSH, what does FSH stand for? Follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone. If you put it in a female, if you put follicle stimulating hormone in a female ovary, you're going to get an egg follicle. But if you put the FSH, on a male testes, what are you going to get? A sperm. Isn't that interesting? The same way you put water in an onion plant, will give you onion. You put water in cantaloupe, will give you cantaloupe. You put water in a carrot will give you a carrot. You put water in strawberry will give you a strawberry. The same water. I have 4 different plants. Onion. If I have 4 different plants, 1 plant onion, 1 plant carrot, 1 plant strawberry, 1 plant mango, and I put water in all of them, they will all grow, even though it's the same water. Same thing. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. If you put it in a female ovary, you will get an egg ova. But if you put the FSH in a male testes, you will get a sperm. So when a little boy is going to puberty, FSH will make his testes release sperm. And if a little girl is undergoing puberty, FSH is gonna make her ovary secrete egg. Isn't that interesting? The same hormone in different place giving you a different result. LH stands for luteinizing. Luteinizing hormone. FSH is luteinizing hormone. FSH is luteinizing hormone. And luteinizing hormone is going to, in the male, is going to give us testosterone. Testosterone. In the male is going to give us testosterone, and in the female is going to give us what? Is going to give us estrogen. Are we clear? Isn't that interesting? Luteinizing hormone is going to give us estrogen in the female, and luteinizing hormone is going to give us testosterone in the male. The same hormone giving you 2 different results based on where was it applied. Very good. So now you see that we have FSH and LH, and now we're done with FSH and LH. 2 more and you go home. I know you wanted a break, but now you're gonna leave early. You're gonna leave in like 15 minutes. So let's finish the other 2, prolactin and thyroid stimulating hormone. So we're done with FSH and LH. Let's now go to okay, prolactin, you have the hypothalamus secreting thyrotropin releasing hormone, TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone, thyrotropin releasing hormone. And thyrotropin releasing hormone is going to go to the pituitary gland, and that is going to release for us prolactin. And prolactin means what? Production means production of milk. Prolactin means production of milk. Prolactin means production of the milk. So, releasing hormone comes from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary, and then the pituitary would release prolactin, and the prolactin would go to the mammary gland. Don't forget that. It will go to the mammary gland and would secrete the production of milk. It's interesting how the thyroid hormone works the same way. The hypothalamus is gonna secrete TRH again. What does TRH stand for?
Thyrotropin.
Excellent. Thyrotropin releasing hormone. Thyrotropin releasing hormone, and thyrotropin releasing hormone is gonna secrete for us. Thyrotropin releasing hormone is gonna go to the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is gonna secrete TSH, which means thyroid stimulating. Good guess. Stimulating hormone. And thyroid stimulating hormone will go to the thyroid gland. Would go to the thyroid gland. And the thyroid gland is going to secrete the thyroid hormone. The thyroid gland is going to secrete the thyroid hormone. And the thyroid hormone is going to go into the cells and is going to increase the temperature, increase the basal metabolic rate, and so on. But it's interesting how both of them, TSH, if you look here in red, TSH and prolactin, both of them, prolactin and TSH, both of them come from the pituitary after who bound? TRH. So it's the same one coming from the hypothalamus, but once you get to the pituitary, it will be different. One is going to release TSH, and TSH is going to go to the thyroid gland to release thyroid hormone. But here you have TRH is going to release prolactin, and prolactin is going to cause the milk production. It's going to cause the milk production. You need to know that these hormones are very important for your survival. That's why you see now why they call the pituitary gland the master gland.
Yeah.
It is the master gland. Why is it the master gland? Because it is producing 6 hormones. The pituitary gland doesn't secrete milk.
Oh.
It secretes hormones. One of them causes the production of milk. That's prolactin. Prolactin makes milk. Oxytocin exit. Production. Prolactin produces milk. Prolactin produces milk. Oxytocin exits the milk, ejects the milk, squeeze the milk duct so milk can come out. Yeah.
So if someone has an issue with their pituitary gland, like their whole body is basically almost shutting down.
It depends on where exactly the issue is, because remember, the pituitary gland has 6 different regions, one for each hormone. One for growth hormone, one for thyroid hormone, one for ACTH, one for FSH, one for LH, one for prolactin, you see? So nobody has all sides. The people who have tumor in the pituitary gland of the growth hormone side, that's why they get gigantism and they get
women
acromegaly.
that can't produce milk, even when they are pregnant.
So now, women who cannot produce milk is different issues now. Those are different issues. That's outside the scope of the. But there could be a reason in the pituitary gland. There could be a reason in the breast itself. There could be a reason in the milk duct. There could be a reason in hypothalamus. There could be a reason anywhere in the axis. So when you take pathology or pathophysiology, you're gonna go over the diseases. So this course is structure and function. We talk about the structure of the body and the function. And then the next step is you guys now go and see when things go wrong with the structure, the anatomy, and the function, the physiology. Clear? Any questions? Those homeworks, all of these homeworks that we talked about, all these homeworks that we talked about, hormones, all those hormones that we talked about, they are grouped into two major classifications. Those hormones that we talked about are grouped into two major classifications. Hormones that dissolve in this and hormones that dissolve in that. What do you think? Hormones, all these hormones we talked about, FSH, LH, testosterone, and all of those different types of hormones. So the hormones in the endocrine system, hormones in the endocrine system, some of them dissolve in water. These are water soluble, and some of them are lipid soluble. The water soluble are hydrophilic, and the lipid soluble are lipophilic. That's the same thing. Water soluble means hydrophilic and lipophobic. And lipid soluble means lipophilic and hydrophobic. You cannot be both. You're either one, you're either this or that. Either you dissolve in water or you dissolve in lipids. You cannot do both. So some hormones dissolve in water. So by the way, one of these words is enough. If I say one, you need to know the other two. If I tell you this enzyme is water soluble, do I need to tell you it's also hydrophilic and also lipophobic? No. You know that. Yeah. Philic means loving. Hydrophilic means loving. Hydro, water, loving water. Phobic, fearing. Fearing lipids. Lipid soluble meaning lipophilic and hydrophobic. So the hormones that are water soluble are the protein hormones. We call them catecholamines. Catecholamines. And from the word amines, you know those are protein peptides. Protein peptides. Please write that down. Water soluble or hydrophobic, lipophobic, or hydrophilic, lipophobic. And an example of that would be the catecholamines. While the lipid soluble, lipophilic, and hydrophobic, an example of that would be the cholesterol-based hormones. Cholesterol-based hormones. Example of that, also known as steroid hormones. Same thing. Tomato. Steroid hormones. Steroid hormones, cholesterol-based hormones, and steroid hormones. Example of that would be cholesterol-based hormones and steroid hormones is the hormones made of cholesterol, such as testosterone, estrogen, aldosterone. Who makes aldosterone? We talked about that today. Who makes aldosterone? The adrenal cortex, exactly, the zona glomerulosa. Excellent. Aldosterone, estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. So you see all these sterone, progesterone, all of these hormones are cholesterol based and lipid soluble. What are examples of catecholamine, protein, water soluble hormones? That's like insulin. That's like insulin. Is a perfect example. Epinephrine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Epinephrine and insulin and epinephrine. Yes, insulin and so those are two different types of hormones. Those are two different types of hormones. Some of them are water soluble. That's number one, water soluble. And number two is lipid soluble. Lipid soluble. So now if you look at this here, you see water soluble and lipid soluble. Those two different classes of hormone. Those are two different classes of hormones. So that means they will work in the cell in different ways. The plasma membrane of a cell is known as a bilipid, right? Is the plasma membrane water soluble or lipid soluble? Lipid soluble. So it has a bilayer. It has a bilayer leaflet, right? This is your plasma membrane. It has a phospholipid bilayer with phosphate heads and nonpolar lipid tails, right? That's why it looks like that. It has phosphate heads and lipid tails. It's like butter. That's why we draw it here in yellow, because it's lipid butter. It's all lipid butter. All of this, you see? All of this is your plasma membrane. Who do you think is welcome to cross the plasma membrane with ease and bind to receptors on the cytoplasm? Some of them bind receptors on the cytoplasm, and some of them bind receptors inside the nucleus where the DNA is found. Where the chromosomes are found. There's receptors here. Who do you think is welcome to cross easily? Remember, the plasma membrane is lipid. The plasma membrane is lipid soluble. Who can cross and bind to receptor in the cytoplasm? Receptor in the cytoplasm, and a receptor in the nucleus. Receptor in the cytoplasm and a receptor in the nucleus. Receptor in the cytoplasm and receptor in the nucleus. Now, what do you see? Which one you think is welcome to do that? To cross the plasma bilayer lipid. Is it the water soluble or the lipid soluble? The lipid soluble. So all of these guys down there, testosterone, estrogen, aldosterone, progesterone, all of these guys can cross and bind receptors in the cytoplasm and the nucleus.
Polio attack polio and water attack water.
Excellent, because lipid dissolve lipid, like dissolve like, birds of the same feather flock together. Now, if you look into the other ones, the insulin and the epinephrine, the insulin and the epinephrine, insulin and epinephrine. Do you think they can cross to the inside of the cell? They can't. You have the school ID. You can cross, right? The entrance and come in. If you don't have the ID, you can't cross. You stay on the outside, then another person on your behalf, public safety, will come and do the function for you, right? If you look at the body, is like that. If you have the lipid structure, you can cross easily to bind the receptor and the nucleus. But if you are not lipid soluble, you're water soluble, like the insulin and epinephrine, you bind to a receptor on the outside because you can't come in. You stay on the outside. And then these guys come in, insulin and insulin. You got insulin. You got epinephrine, epinephrine. And then what you're going to see is a second messenger on their behalf, a protein on the inside, a second messenger known as CAMP. Who remembers CAMP? Cyclic AMP. That one is the second messenger who will go on there because they can't come in. So another second messenger. So who's the first messenger? The hormone. So here, insulin is the first messenger. Testosterone is the first messenger. But if the first messenger is lipid soluble, it can cross. Do everything by itself. But if the first messenger is water soluble, lipid insoluble, it binds on the outside, and then a second messenger is required. Is that clear? Any other questions? All right, guys, so let me take the attendance. Remember, next Tuesday, your 100 questions, lab practical, the figures already been posted. Please make sure you review that. The same question, the photo, you have to write out the answer, like how it was on the homework. And please remember that your final exam